I had them online before I dial up. How they claiming they on top when I'm a mile up. I had them online before I dial up. How they claiming they on top when I'm a mile up. I know the wall's closing in, but don't you dare give up now. Poe believed in me, pull up through some bucks down. Todd told the valet pull the truck round. Push the line up that we drew it, it's just us now. Would you believe me if I told you my granny told me she prayed this? Then booked the surgery just to pull me out of the basement. Right back where I started, nothing to show for a facelift. Got pushed playing Walter White and Davis, never felt so dangerous. The type of power they can't quantify. And name the best from my region, you gotta utter mine. Think of who really putting on, you never come to mind. Rapping like your Spotify, tap you rappers compromise. Yeah, no need to panic, just paint the canvas. If you can feel the static, you're too close, find your balance. Embed the revolution for they prohibition bandwidth. Blood trickle from the leaders he was planning. I had them all line before I dial up. How they claiming they on top when I'm a mile up. I had them all line before I dial up. How they claiming they on top when I'm a mile up. Boarded that flight to Amsterdam. When my accountant of minus my family found out too and didn't like it. You're not in this alone. What Dale said and I thought he was biased. Then I got a Venmo that said copy the finest. Before my foolishness settled in. Recorded a whole tape before we got to Berlin. This close to giving up and now never again. Don't overlook the work and come expecting to win. In the end.
What's going on, people? This is Jackie Lukman, and you are viewing Lukman Nation live with me, Jackie Lukman. Lukman Nation is the most dangerous show on social media, on the most dangerous network on social media. I hope you are doing well tonight. I hope your week was well. It's been rainy, chilly here in Washington, D.C., but I hope that, you're comfy, you're cozy, you're dry, you're well, you're healthy. Yes, it is I, the people's prophetess, Juki Jackie, as the ear doctor called me. Uh, just completely botched my name, but I kind of dig it. I'm gonna accept it. It's been a heck of a week, y'all. I have been kind of slowly recovering from my trip to Colombia, the country Colombia. Um, and I stayed for 10 days, so I'm still really tired. I did a lot of stuff. There's gonna be a couple of shows where I talk about some of the things that I experienced and some of the observations I had. I'm going to put together some of the pictures that I have not posted and some videos that I posted. Not the greatest quality videos because I was I was taking them while I was car sick in a van going from the city of Cali up to Buenaventura. First time I've ever gotten car sick in my life. But yeah, it was a really, really great experience. I see your question, Todd Meg. If you can go, I encourage you to go. The national strike has, obviously died down, but that does not mean that there will not be another one because the right wing government is still very much in place, and they're still very much repressive. When we went to Buenaventura, there were still military units on the bridge going into the city to quell any uprisings that happened again in short order, because the state learned after 2017 when the people in Buenaventura blocked off entrance to that city and effectively shut down the port, that the people are serious. So the state always adapts, and they are always on guard because they realize that the people were not they weren't playing. So yeah, there are military units still on the bridge going into Buenaventura. There's a heavy police presence that can be mobilized really quickly in Cali, and they do that again, to quell any kind of spontaneous protests that they think are going to happen very, very quickly. So yeah, there are still serious systemic issues in Colombia. The encouraging thing is the Afro-Colombian people and the indigenous people of Colombia are not taking any of that shit silently. And there is a lot of work going on behind the scenes, as it were, that's not being reported in the media in the US, that I got a chance to witness some of firsthand. So yeah, I'm going to talk about all of that stuff. But the country is absolutely beautiful. Our people, the working class and poor people, wonderful, wonderful people. A lot of great food, a lot of ridiculously good food, and I had a very interesting and very enriching spiritual experience too. And I'm going to talk about that in another show. But yes, Todd Mayick, you should go to Colombia. It's a great country. It's a beautiful country, and I'll definitely be going back. Probably sooner than a lot of people, and I might even realize I'll be going back. But hopefully, my next international trip will be to Cuba. But we'll see how that works out. But anyway, there's a lot of stuff I want to get to tonight, but first I want to tell you that if you are watching, to please share this video, send it to your friends, send it to people you don't like, share the video, invite your friends to come and watch. If you are watching and you're not a member of Black Power Media, join Black Power Media. You can also support Black Power Media on through Patreon, patreon.com/Black Power Media. You can subscribe to this channel. You should, so you can get notifications. Be sure to click the little bell on your screen so you can get notifications for every time Black Power Media is live with all of the great content that we have on here. Okay, the first thing I want to get to, I hope that you watched the interview earlier today on Riot Starter TV with that Kalanji Changa did with former Representative Cynthia McKinney. That was dope. And the morning remix show yesterday was great. I actually got to talk to Jaleel Muntakim, and it is just such an incredible honor for me to be able to talk to the people who set the example for me. So, check out all that good stuff. I hope it enriches you the way it enriched me. So let's get into this stuff tonight, because I want to start off with something that's kind of ridiculous, but is also actually very, very serious. And I normally don't pay any attention to folks like Shaquille O'Neal, but somebody posted this on my on Facebook, and I saw this and I thought, okay, this is just this can't be, this is just foolish. But so I read it, and in because we're going to be talking about HBCUs and college and all this kind of stuff and Black folks tonight, and I thought this was interesting. Because Shaquille O'Neal apparently told his kids that they have to get a degree and present a business plan if they want his money. Now, let me make sure that I am sharing the audio for this tab, because I want you to hear this video. So let me stop for a second. Let me stop the sharing for a second. Make sure that the little button is clicked down here. Yes, share tab audio, so you can hear the ridiculousness this man says. Well, let's see. Here you go. No, not that one. All the way down, all the way down. There we go.
So, my kids are older now, and they're kind of upset with me. Not really upset, but they don't understand. Because I tell them all the time, we ain't rich. I'm rich. Yeah, we don't. No, you got to have bachelors or masters, and then if you want me to invest in one of your companies, you're gonna have to present it. Boom, boom, boom. Bring it to me. I'll let you know. I'm not giving you nothing. The girls, I'll take care of the girl, but my boys, oh, they're not getting nothing.
Do you see the entrepreneurial spirit in your children? I know some of the boys are playing basketball. Do you see that spirit in them?
Yeah, I do, but I try to let them figure it out. You know, listen, it's one rule: education. I don't care if you play basketball. I don't care about none of that. Because listen, I got 6 kids. I would like a doctor, somebody that owns a hedge fund, a pharmacist, a lawyer, someone that owns multiple businesses.
Oh Lord. Okay. Yeah. So a couple of things, a few things, not a couple, a few things. Since we're talking about college education and HBCUs and all that good stuff. Look, Shaquille O'Neal has every right to do with his money for his kids and his family whatever the hell he wants. That's not my issue with his comments. My issue is that, see, Shaquille O'Neal is rich because he had a talent that many of us, most of us, and I bet you most of his kids don't have. He possessed a talent of prowess on the basketball court, and I know that people will argue about that, but okay. But he was chosen by white recruiters to play for LSU out of high school. He was chosen by white coaches to play for the Orlando Magic 3 years um, in college. He was still in college. He had done 3 years at LSU. So Shaquille O'Neal made his money off of his unique talent, and because he was chosen to use that talent to make money for himself, but also for the people who chose him. That's why they chose him. They didn't. I mean, it's not like he was chosen. There are millions of us who have incredible talent in all kinds of different fields that is untapped because nobody pays any attention to us, because somebody hasn't come along and said, hey, I think this person deserves a shot. That's not how it works in this country. That the United States is not a meritocracy. I don't care what anybody says. We know this is true. So Shaquille O'Neal isn't even rich because he deserves to be rich, because just because he's talented. He is rich because, yes, he was talented, and because he was chosen by people who saw his talent and said, we can benefit, we can profit off of his talent. That's why Shaquille O'Neal is rich, not just because he's talented, right? So that's one issue with what he said. And the other issue I have is that, look, I'm not crapping on anybody who wants their kids to get a college degree. Fine, fine. But what I want Black people to understand is that a college degree is not a guarantee for much of anything anymore. I mean, and again, I'm not diminishing the importance of higher education for people who want it, who want to pursue that. It's great. It's wonderful. But a college degree does not translate into like more money and more status, not, especially not for us. And it never really has for us, right? Because we understand that for Black folks, even with a college degree, what Black folks with a college degree get is more money than poor Black folks without a college degree. They don't get as much money as white people with a college degree. How many studies have proven that? For so so, and that's fine and that's good, but this idea that college degrees guarantee a level of success and economic uh um advancement, that's just not. No, what will happen with Shaquille O'Neal's kids is just like in his case. They'll get a college degree and they will be elevated because they are Shaquille O'Neal's offspring. That's It's the connection. And then there's the issue that Shaq's kids will also have his name and his money to fall back on if they fail. Because, he said that he wants them to present a business plan if they're going to start their businesses, if they want him to invest in their businesses, and he's just not going to give them money. And I mean, like I said, that's fine. That's his money. They his kids. He can do whatever he wants with his money and his kids. That's cool. But the truth is that if his kids' businesses fail, unlike you and me, if we have a business and our business fails, not only do we not have anything to fall back on, but we more than likely owe a whole lot of money to banks for the business loan that we got, for those of us who were able to get a business loan in the first place. Shaquille O'Neal's kids, if his kids' businesses fail, they get to fall back on their daddy's name and their daddy's money. So his whole, telling his, giving this weird respectability bootstrapism advice for his kids, it's so disingenuous. It's obviously very capitalistic minded, very rugged individualism, but it's also really ignorant of the conditions, the real life conditions that people who are not named the offspring of Shaquille O'Neal actually have to face. I mean, if that works for him and his kids, that's cool. But see, this is why I don't like to take advice from celebrities. They're bad barometers for life advice of any kind because they live in a whole separate world from me and you. And I don't care who the celebrity is. When they give this kind of advice, because they don't live like you and me, they have no idea how we live. Even if they came from the so-called hood, they've been, in this other reality called celebrity for so long that they honestly don't know what it's like to be broken black no more. I really believe that. So I just thought that was kind of ridiculous. The stuff that Shaquille O'Neal said. And yeah, so I just had to share that. Just crazy how the stuff that he wants. And he wants hedge fund managers. He wants doctors, and okay, fine, but for once, I would really love for celebrities, if we're going to listen to them at all about, this kind of stuff, I would love for them to say that they just want their kids to be fucking happy. I want that they want their kids to be free, and they want everybody else's kids to be free. They want liberation for everybody else's kids, and they want their kids to be happy and healthy. But that's I just thought that was an interesting and typical kind of black capitalist take on success, what they think success is, and how closely it's tied to what they think college will do for folks. I just think it's weird. Anyway. So speaking of college, so there was a story that was reported in Politico earlier this week that I know a lot of people miss because we don't be reading Politico like that, and that's okay. That's why I read Politico, so I can tell you these things. And this is along the lines of the college thing. Excuse me. So let me share this with you, and I'm gonna try really hard to be sort of objective, although I'm entirely not. So this was reported in Politico that the White House is building bridges with one of the Black community's most powerful groups. Who might that group be, you think? Is it pastors? No, 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 no. Is it teachers? No. Is it barbers, hair salon owners? No. You know who it is? It's the Divine Nine. Yeah, the Divine Nine. If you don't know who the Divine Nine is or what the Divine Nine is, the Divine Nine are members of 9 Black Greek organizations, fraternities, and sororities. And they were founded at the start of the 20th century by, small numbers of students on different college campuses. Mainly started on HBCUs to form their own sororities and fraternities. So they used to be called the Divine Nine, as they are called now, used to be called the National Pan-Hellenic Council. Now they call themselves the Divine Nine. And the 9 Black Greek organizations are Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity, which was founded in 1906 at Cornell University; Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority, founded in 1908 at Howard University; Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity, founded in 1911 at Indiana University; Omega Psi Phi Fraternity, founded in 1911 at Howard University; Delta Sigma Theta Sorority, founded in 1913 at Howard; Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity, founded in 1914 at Howard; Zeta Phi Beta Sorority, founded in 1920 at Howard; Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority, founded in 1922 at Butler University; and Iota Phi Theta Fraternity, founded in 1963 at Morgan State University. Shout out to Dr. Jared Ball, Morgan State. So that is the Divine Nine, and those are the people, the representatives of those Black Greek organizations that the Biden administration is meeting with. And this is a picture of some of those folks sitting there meeting with, Miss Skiwit herself, Kamala Harris. Okay, so full disclosure. I have nothing against Black Greek organizations. Okay, I told you I was going to try to be objective. And I can't be objective because, okay, it's not true that I have nothing against Black Greek organizations. My uncle is an Alpha Phi Alpha. He's an A Phi. My aunt, his wife, is an AKA. So when I was in college, I could very well have pledged AKA as a legacy or whatever, but I just kind of figured that I didn't need friends that badly, that I needed to go through some secret ceremony and possibly be hazed and have a bunch of chicks that I don't know treat me like shit. And then at the end of it, they could say, "Hey, you're my sister." Yeah. And I know sororities and fraternities, especially Black Greek sororities and fraternities, are bigger than that. It's about connections. It's about, whatever they say it's about. But it just wasn't for me. And also I don't like the hierarchy that Black Greek organizations perpetrate. I mean, I know that, and I'm going to tell you a story about my uncle Alfred, who's the A Phi, who is the Alpha Phi Alpha alumnus who graduated Virginia State University. The fraternity was helpful to my uncle because our family was poor, and I mean they couldn't afford housing. So my uncle and his cousins were staying in a house off campus that didn't have heat or hot water. And they did this for a year until my uncle decided, they would study by candlelight because the electricity was turned off. So my uncle decided, I think I'm going to pledge for fraternity. And I don't know how that whole thought process went, But basically, he pledged Alpha Phi Alpha, and he was able to stay in that A Phi house and all that kind of stuff. And you know, he has developed lifelong friendships and all that kind of good stuff. But it just wasn't for me. And as I see the the activities on Howard University in particular, because you have to understand, I live in Washington, D.C. Howard University is here in Washington, D.C. But I live in the poorest and the blackest area of the city, Southeast D.C., Southeast for, you grammatically correct folks. And I am here to tell you, I've lived in DC since I was 6 years old. Lived in Southeast DC for most of my adult life anyway, and for much of my childhood. And I can tell you that not only do the Black Greek organizations at Howard not have any presence over here in the hood, Howard University doesn't have any presence over here in the hood. So there is this mythology about HBCUs in general and about Black Greek organizations in particular that is absolutely counter to the reality of their relationship between their institution and the Black masses, right? So that I have to correct myself and be honest. I do have a bias against Black Greek organizations. And those are the biases. I think that they can be a force for good if there were not that class structure that they pattern themselves off of, because they pattern themselves off of white sororities and fraternities, which, we're talking about exclusive clubs here, right? All right, so this is the context that we are looking at least that I'm looking at this meeting with these folks, who are representatives of the Divine Nine. The meeting that they're having, and Brewski is really, really enjoying his bone over here. If you are hearing that strange noise, it's Brewski chewing on his bone. So that's the context that I'm looking at this meeting that the White House is having with these folks. And there are several problems with this meeting that we're going to talk about, because I think in the context of the class implications and the proximity to power and what that's going to benefit us, I think that's the important conversation to have about these meetings. Because while some folks would be like, oh, wow, yeah, there are Black folks who have a seat at the table. There's some serious problems with this meeting. Now, first of all, let's be clear. Joseph Biden is having these meetings to reassure Black voters that he needs to keep in line if the Democrats want to keep the House and the scrap of the Senate that they have, and win again in 2024. That is, if Biden is still alive in 2024, which I got to tell you, honestly, I don't think the Democrats are going to win. I think the Democrats are going to lose the House and the Senate in the midterms in 2022. And whoever is running for Democrat in the 2024 presidential election, I don't think they will win. That's my prediction. I could be wrong, but that's how it's looking for me right now. But basically, Biden knows that Black folks are not happy with the lack of progress on voting rights, police reform, and now they got this Build Back Better bullshit that they did, right? So Biden really, he's digging real deep in the trick bag, and he's like, oh, I got to do something drastic. Oh, let me meet with some Black folks. That's because that's all this is, right? So the problem is that the White House is like under the impression that the Divine Nine has these strong, influence and connections in the Black community. And it sees them, the White House, the Biden administration, sees these folks as like an effective intermediary and conduit of information between the White House and Black folks. And that thinking is how I know neither of these groups of people know a damn thing about us. And that's how I know they don't care. But so Kamala Harris hosted a meeting with the Council of Presidents and the 9 sororities and fraternities in her ceremonial office. Yes, she has one, on October 6th, earlier this month. And she asked for that meeting, and this was the first time that all 9 organizations have been invited to the White House, and they all excited about this, y'all. But I think it's interesting to note that this meeting also didn't happen. Obama didn't have. I just wanted to. Yeah, that was okay. And then the meeting has also added to its regular monthly schedule of regular meeting just for the Divine Nine. In addition to this meeting that they have with Black stakeholders. I don't know who those people are, but I'm pretty sure we're talking about the folks with the same kind of class politics, the same kind of, exactly. Lever action, modern jazz, bougie shit. Exactly. That's exactly what it is. It is bougie shit. So there are these 2 meetings with these Black, groups of Black folks that the White House is having. And they've said some interesting things about these meetings. And I got to read to you some of these comments. So Beverly Smith, the current national president of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, said that we've been at this for quite a while and have had people in so many seats on those political tables for years. And we know that makes a huge difference in terms of making sure that your voice is significant in terms of what it could do. So it's the start of discussion with this administration, but it's work the Divine Nine has been doing since its inception. Okay, first of all, if these people have had seats at the table for on so many of these political tables for years, how come you and me still broke as hell? How come we still getting beat to hell and shot to death by the cops and choked out by the cops? How come we still don't have quality affordable housing? How come we don't have free community college? How come we don't have free childcare? How come fuck it, how come we don't have reparations? How come we couldn't even have? Where were these people when we were having the conversation about reparations? Where was the Divine Nine in that conversation? Where were they at any of the seats at the table? Where were they talking about, what have they said about HBCU funding? What have they said about the inequalities in public school funding that impacts negatively working class and poor Black folks and indigenous folks? Where they been? Where are the seats at all of these political tables these people been at? And I don't know whose voice this woman is talking about here, but it's not your voice and it's not my voice. And it's not the voice of the masses of working class and poor Black folks that is being echoed in this meeting that have no connection whatsoever to Black Greek organizations at all. One word, at all. Oh, gotta be kidding me with this. Oh my God. So then she goes on to say, I think the visibility of the effort and the push is most important. The visibility of the effort and the push is most important. Not actually getting what we need, just seeing what is being done. She goes on to say, people will get frustrated and give up hope if they don't hear what's happening in the push significantly moving forward. And the article says that Smith hopes the increased contact with the administration will give the Divine Nine a way to tamp down some of that frustration get this, with progress reports on issues like voting rights. Smith said, we can say, here's the things that are happening. Here's what has happened. Here's the distance we've come already from X to X. It would help people understand the importance of what happened. Yeah, that's what we want. Progress reports. That's what we need. That'll help a lot. I mean, it blows my mind that I see Big T. You are as confused as I am, because I'm just like, say what now? Huh? Say what? Progress reports? Yeah, she actually talked about the visibility of the push is most important. Not getting people what they need, not changing the material conditions of the community that they so-called have so much influence and input and connection to, but just seeing that they're there and progress reports. And I don't know if Politico just found somebody who was an activist in some way and like validated these people and their bougie bullshit, but I mean they did. There's this woman named Latasha Brown who is a political strategist and co-founder of Black Voters Matter, a voting rights advocacy group, who said the administration has, and she's right on this, has allowed a lot of goodwill to dissipate from the Black community because of a perceived lack of movement on key issues. She's right on that. I agree. Then she said, we're not just a tool to participate for them to get power. Our participation is literally driven by our own desire to have power. So if we're going to lose power in supporting you, then what's the value in that? And up to that point, I was like, all right, I see that. I agree. Yes. But then she said, building a relationship with the Divine Nine can only aid in gaining some of that trust back because, and I cannot believe she said this, they're heavily embedded in our community. They're the teachers, they're leaders. That is a very rich and powerful group within our community that carries a tremendous amount of credibility. That is absolute bullshit. These people don't have any visibility or influence or credibility in the communities of working class and poor Black masses. They don't. I mean, they're not the teachers. Most of the people who teach our kids are white. Okay? And how many sorors and frat brothers do you know who live in the hood you live in? I don't know. Come on. I agree, Ricky. My favorite AKA is Dr. CBS. I agree. She's the only one I'm giving a pass to. Now, look, I'm not. Brown went on to say about the Divine Nine, because these are real Black folk that are embedded in our communities. They're going to expect some real outcomes. Well, first of all, okay, I'm not going to say that they're not real Black folks. I mean, because we're not a monolith, right? But they're not embedded in our community. A lot of these mugs don't even live where you and I live because they done made a little bit more money than we make, and they don't want to live around the pores no more. Okay? And expect some real outcomes. The woman just said that she's going to give us progress reports. Progress reports. That's not a real outcome. So, it's worth noting, I think, that the Divine Nine also met with both Biden and Harris multiple times during the 2020 election. And Glenda Baskin Glover, the international president of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, said that Biden told them his White House would have some sort of relationship with the organizations. And I thought this was just so emblematic of the true nature of the relationship that this group of people have with the White House and the true nature of their relationship with us and what it really means for us. So Glover said, this is in the article, that she told her husband after that meeting, quote, "I was so impressed. After I said something, the vice president wrote it down." Ski! She didn't actually do the ski wee. I was just being bitchy when I just did. But this is the problem with these folks and their proximity to power, y'all. We don't benefit from it. These people get their seat at the table, and we get, what do we get? Progress reports. That's what we get. That's what they said we're going to get. These folks, the Divine Nine, the representatives of the Divine Nine, will still have their connections and their money. And believe me, trust and believe, watch some of these folks end up in some kind of position in somebody's administration. So watch. So they're going to keep having their connections and their money and their nicer houses than we got in the suburbs, away from us rowdy Negroes in the hood like you and me. And Biden and Harris and them, well, they going to still be filthy rich and making excuses for why they can't do more for us with a Democrat-controlled Congress. But you and me, what we going to get? Progress reports from the Divine Nine. All right, then. Ooh. I guess I'm not supposed to say that because I'm not okay, anyway. I know they're going to get me for the kiwi. I know I'm being really bad. So this leads me to the question, what good are HBCUs if they produce people who are happy to be excited about the VP writing some shit down after they talk, but are only pushing for progress reports for you and me, right? More and more HBCUs are becoming fertile ground for the state to pluck its new generation of acolytes and agents from. And I saw this myself. Me and Abdus saw this ourselves at Howard University a few years ago when we went to the campus to support HU Resist students who were protesting the administration a few years ago, and the fact that former FBI Director James Comey was giving a speech on campus because he accepted a year-long fellowship to teach there. Yes, y'all, the Fed was given a fellowship to teach at Howard University. And we sat there, me and Abdus, out there filming, talking to these kids who were out there in the spirit of Kwame Ture and with the radical, revolutionary, black radical activism and spirit. These kids are out there. They interrupted Comey's speech, and what did they get from the Black Howard University, the Mecca, the administration of the Mecca? They got MPD, not just campus police now. MPD, Metro Police Department, to come in and drag the students, the HU students, out of their own fucking auditorium that they pay for with their tuition. Because they didn't want the Fed accepting a fellowship and teaching at their school. That's what they got. And it's not just Howard. That's right. Uyu Okada, Comey, not your homie. That's what they were out there chanting. And the wild thing was, y'all, as we were out there with the HU Resist students, the the homecoming court, I guess the business students, all these kids dutifully and obediently went into the auditorium in their business suits. The homecoming court had on their sashes and shit. And they walked right through those HU Resist students, their fellow Africans, like they want nothing. And they walked into that auditorium to sit there and listen to that white pig indoctrinate them into becoming agents of the state. It was wild to see. But I got to tell you, you are absolutely right, Ricky. Those HU Resist students, you want to talk about some heart? They had heart to do what they did. Heart. And we were proud to be out there supporting them and documenting it. Documenting the contradictions on a historically Black college campus, the Mecca. But I don't want to pick on Howard University too much, because I'm going to do some more of that a little bit later. But it's not just Howard. It's not just Howard. Look, there is this news about Morehouse that I just saw. Let me close this other thing so I don't get confused. That I just saw. That is just, I want to say it's mind-boggling, but talking about state co-opting and targeting students at HBCUs to become their new agents, to become the new faces in high places. I mean, why is it a surprise that Morehouse is now teaming up with Google to create a virtual reality program to train police? Y'all, what the fuck? What the fuck? Morehouse College's culturally relevant computer lab and National Training Institute on Race and Equity have partnered with Google's Jigsaw, I don't know what that is, you're going to have to look it up, to create a new virtual reality training program for law enforcement. The program, here's what I wanted to highlight. The program, called creatively Trainer, puts officers into virtual reality scenarios that teach de-escalation techniques through advancing communication and critical thinking skills. They say that this technology, in combination with strong anti-bias training, has the potential to reduce racial and ethnic disparities in policing. Y'all, you and I and everybody and they mama at this point knows that training is not the problem with policing in this country. Police is the problem with policing in this country. All right? Check out somebody who named Norm Stamper. He's a former Seattle chief of police who I think he just recently came out of hiding, because he came out and started speaking out against the racism and the horrible culture in policing that needed to stop. And it wasn't a training issue. It's fucked up people in the police, and it's the culture of police that, the blue wall of science, that wall ain't thin. That wall is as thick as the Federal Reserve Fort Knox bank vault. I think Norm Stamper just recently came out of hiding. I don't know, maybe he's still in hiding. But he's in hiding because the cops wanted to kill him for telling the truth about their shit. It's the issue with police is not a training issue. The issue with police is a white supremacy issue. The issue of police is a settler colonialism issue. The issue of police is a controlling the surplus population issue. The issue with police is a capitalism issue. It ain't a fucking training. Oh my God. Anyway, so I mean, this kind of stuff is going on not just, college campuses all over the country, because let's be clear, predominantly white institutions are getting in on the authoritarian, teaming up with the imperialists and, training folks how to be an obedient, happy capitalist. They're doing the same thing too. But it is particularly troubling that HBCUs are being targeted and are willingly going along with these efforts by private companies and the state, because obviously the outcomes of those partnerships blowback, not just on the students on HBCU campuses like at Howard right now, when Howard students are protesting the administration and its bullshit yet again. But those partnerships also blow back on you and me. Even though we're not on anybody's college campus. Big Teal makes a great point. It is a short article, but the shorter the article, the more there is to hide. I'm going to have to really look into this program some more, because I honestly don't know what Google's jigsaw is. Now I need to find out what it is, and I'm pretty sure I'm not going to like it when I find out what it is, and it's just going to make this whole situation worse. But, as I mentioned, the protests at Howard University are not unique. They are what's going on with the collusion between HBCU administrations and capitalist corporations and the state. That's not unique, and it's not just happening at Howard or Morehouse. It is an issue that is happening across the country, and I think there is no better analysis of that fact than this incredible piece that was just published, that is available right now on Hood Communist blog, called "The Neo-Colonial Collusion of HBCUs and the State." Now, full disclosure, I am a supporter of Hood Communist. This article was produced by a collaboration of several members of the Black Alliance for Peace organization that I am proud to belong to. The collaborationists, is that the word? Yes. The folks who wrote this, they are members of my region of the Black Alliance for Peace organization, the Mid-Atlantic region. So yeah, I'm real proud. I'm bigging up BAP and the Mid-Atlantic region BAP and Hood Communist and all my peeps. We are some serious Africans. We do some serious work. We ain't playing with this. We're not playing with this. And this article is not only timely because of the protests at Howard University, but it is critical to understanding just how deeply the collusion between the state and HBCUs is, how deep it is, and how dangerous it is. Not just for our kids on these HBCU campuses, but for us too. So I want to talk about a few of these issues in this article, but you're going to have to read it yourself. It is expansive. The research is great. It is wonderful. So they talk about the demonstrations at Howard University. Let me let me zoom this in so you can see it a little better. Let me make sure it is centered so you can really see it. All right, there you go. So they, talk about the protests at Howard University, which either sometime this weekend or maybe early next week, hopefully members of the Black Alliance for Peace, Mid-Atlantic region, are going to do a teach-in, I think, and we are going to be referencing, and hopefully I hope we're going to be passing out this article, and we're definitely going to be talking about it and some other things on the campus of HU. We've been supporting those students out there in other ways with material support, food and tents and sleeping bags and all that kind of stuff. So, just to let you know, we don't just talk about it. We be about it. We bout about it. Okay. So, all right. So they talk about the protests at Howard University that have now extended to the Atlanta University complex. So students at Clark Atlanta University are protesting in solidarity with Howard University students. And there he is. I think, no, you probably can't see him. But anyway, yeah, that's Brewski. Some other students at other campuses, HBCU campuses in other locations, are also protesting in solidarity. And what are Howard students protesting? Housing, deplorable housing conditions, units infested with roaches, bed bugs, rats, mushrooms, and mold. The buildings are poorly kept. The academic buildings are poorly kept. Campuses aren't safe. Administrators are not held accountable to the students, alumni, or the communities in which they reside. And it's important to note that most HBCUs, it is definitely true for Howard University. Well, it used to be. But most HBCUs are surrounded by Black communities. And most of those Black communities are working class or poor Black communities. But Howard University is a particularly interesting case because the community around Howard University used to be working class and poor. But because of Howard University administration's participation in the gentrification around the university, now the area around Howard University is becoming whiter and richer. And the students on the campus, because Howard sold off some of its property, which was student housing, now the students who are paying tuition now don't have housing, and the housing they do have is shit. They can't afford to rent any place around the campus because it's been gentrified. And the students who live on campus, they don't feel safe because the administration doesn't give a shit about the security of the students. So there's all this stuff going on. This is a really important point, and this goes to the point of the question I asked about what good are HBCUs if they are producing agents for the state, if they're colluding with the state, and so what's happening at HBCUs with these agreements that are usually private and are not public, and people don't even know about them, which is another reason why this piece is so important, and these protests are so important, is that they're just producing more Black colonial subjects. And that is really the role of all higher education in this country. To be clear, higher education in the United States is not designed to produce free thinkers. Even the so-called liberal colleges, don't let these conservatives fool you into thinking that anybody goes to these liberal institutions and actually learns how to independently, and critically think. No, they're indoctrinated into being good stewards of the state. That is every higher institution just about in this country. They teach neoliberalism as a doctrine. They teach capitalism as the acceptable and the only acceptable economic system in the world. And they reinforce white supremacy, patriarchy. I don't care how many gender studies classes they have. I don't care how many Black studies classes they have. If they continue to teach this Eurocentric curriculum, they are perpetuating white supremacy and patriarchy and Western imperialism. That's the role of all higher education institutions in this country. And that is what HBCUs do also. But they do it by making these deals, these contracts with these private companies and state agencies, and to get money. Now the administration gets money. The students don't get shit. The administration gets money. And they select their next generation of black faces in high places from among the students of those HBCUs. That's what goes on. So and this is not true of every student, and I love that the authors of this piece pointed out that there's always been a small group of students, even on HBCUs, who are committed to change, and they learn that by opposing the teachings of the university along these neoliberal and capitalist and imperialist lines, that they're aligning themselves with the needs of the people. That's how they figure out that, wait, the shit they're teaching us in this joint, this is not what our people need, because these are the students who come from people like us. They come from, you understand what I'm saying? So there are some great quotes. I love that they referenced Frederick Douglass, where there's no struggle, there's no progress. And Howard alumnus Kwame Ture, who said African people have never gotten any progress without the spilling of our blood. And these students at Howard understand that they are in the crosshairs of not just the Howard University administration, but now they're in the crosshairs of the Metropolitan Police Department. And they're in the crosshairs of these private entities that the administration has made these contracts with, that these students are making trouble for, right? They understand that, and they're willing to take the risk to make changes. And I commend them for that, but it's a small group of students, y'all. And that is the problem. It's a small group of students. We must support them at all costs, support and protect them, but it's not most of the students at Howard, unfortunately. It's just a small group of students, and it's the same at most HBCUs. So they point out that public higher education in general, and HBCUs in particular, they don't exist to teach Black youth how to be community leaders or even to change the world. They teach students to assimilate into the system as it exists, to defend it, and to propagate that system as the only viable means for the next generation. That's what they all do. They talk about the corporate bleeding of the public university system, HBCUs in particular, and they talk about Howard's mismanagement of their real estate assets and how that fueled gentrification and how it impacts Howard students right now. Can you imagine that there is actually a hashtag that is a real thing called hashtag homeless at Howard? Yeah, where there are students at Howard University who pay their tuition, but because the university administrators sold off a bunch of buildings that were student housing and took that money and ran, the students, there wasn't enough housing for students. So there are actually students at Howard University, the Black Mecca, paying their tuition, $50,000 a year, who have no place to live other than their cars or their couch surfing in places, in people's living rooms or whatever. Because they sure as hell can't afford to rent an apartment anywhere around the campus. Off campus. Homeless at Howard. Hashtag homeless at Howard. Yep. So the first incredibly important part of this piece is the expose of the Corvallis Group. I think that's how it's pronounced. And the Corvallis Group is a real estate company that at first developed and managed on-base military housing for the U.S. government. They've been doing it for a while, but since 1998, they expanded to include developing housing and facility management at public and private colleges and universities. Corvallis has a portfolio of dozens of college campuses in the South, Midwest, and in Washington, D.C. Howard University's housing and facilities management is contracted by Corvallis. It's also worth noting that Corvallis is also being sued right now, I believe, by military families for shitty military housing. That's how bad this company is. When the military families will sue you, that's how bad your shit. Okay, so talk about when and how Howard University entered into a contract with the Corvallis group. They point at the Georgia University, Wayne State, and other HBCUs also have contracts with the Corvallis Group. Corvallis has privatized all campus development and facility maintenance. And in the process of doing that, they hire subcontracted workers, and they are understaffed, they are underpaid, and they're poorly supervised. And you know what that means for the students? What we talked about at the beginning: rats, roaches, mold, mushrooms, sick students. Yeah. They talk about how the this arrangement, excuse me, so sorry. This arrangement that is a private contract that the Howard University administration has with this company Corvallis looks like Howard University is handling all of the things on campus, but it's really Corvallis. And this kind of mirrors the neo-colonial arrangements that corporations make with countries, mostly African countries, but also countries in South America, in the Latin cone, that appear to be independent, but have presidents and legislatures that set state policy that benefit the private corporations. It's exactly the same thing. Can you call it domestic neocolonialism on HBCU campuses? Because I am. That's what I'm calling it. Because that's what it looks like. They go on to talk about Cop City and the problems with the way HBCUs are heavily invested in military training, police training, how they use the police against campus populations, but they don't provide security and safety for the students, which is an issue on Howard University campus. And how the 1033 program factors into campus policing. Yes, military hardware being given to campus police departments like Morgan State and Coppin State. And how it all ties into the military industrial complex through not just military weaponry being given to campus police and used on students, but also through, deals with, scholarships provided by Raytheon and Lockheed Martin, right? Through USAID, the U.S. Agency for International Development, hosting an international development conference that was a part of its commitment to building a diverse, inclusive, and equitable workforce that they held on an HBCU. And we understand that USAID is just it is the humanitarian industrial complex arm of the state that uses humanitarian aid to oppress countries like Haiti and Cuba. So this is an amazing article, I think, that lays out in incredible detail, but in very fine clarity, the issues that are not just being raised on the campus of Howard University, but also the overarching issue of what role do HBCUs play in our communities. And by our, I mean the communities of working class and poor Black masses whose kids don't even go to Howard universities, but those of us who live around these HBCUs that are being used by private corporations and the state to not just suppress the students on campus and to indoctrinate the students on campus, but also that will ultimately be used to oppress us. So here is the link to the article I'm going to drop it in the chat for you. It is hoodcommunist.org. I highly recommend you subscribing to Hood Communist. Incredible, just an incredible bunch of Africans that I'm really proud to know. And I learned an enormous amount from. So to answer my question, you know, what role do HBCUs play in our communities anymore? I don't want to give people the impression that I'm against HBCUs, because I'm not. I think HBCUs are important. I think it's important that in a white supremacist society, an openly violent and hostile and still quite deadly white supremacist, patriarchal, classist, imperialist society, HBCUs provide an important oasis in this desert, not even a desert. I mean, in this hellscape of this society for some of our kids. Understanding that only about 9% of the population of Black kids in this country actually go to HBCUs. So we're talking about a very small percentage of people. But I think that it is important that for our kids who want to go to college, if they feel like they would feel safer and they would feel more accepted and more embraced at an HBCU, that needs to exist. I think that needs to exist. And quite honestly, this country still owes us that. This country still owes us that because it denied our ancestors access to education in the first place. So yes, the government should continue to fund HBCUs. Yeah, I think they do. So I don't believe that HBCUs are irrelevant, or that they are or that they should be done away with. I think they provide a very important cultural experience for a lot of our kids. And I have to be honest, it's a cultural experience because I never finished my degree. I don't have a degree from anybody's college. It's a cultural experience that I kind of wish I had had, because I see how so many people were able to, have, build lifelong relationships with people that they met in college, and had all of these wonderful college experiences. And I'm just going to be honest. Yeah, I kind of wish I did have that kind of experience. And I think that if our kids want that, then I think they should have that. They should have that wonderful feeling of belonging. Whatever it is. I do think, though, that we have to be brutally honest about the kind of people that too many Black parents are allowing to run the institutions they are sending their kids to. And I put that on the parents because, look, kids are kids. Most college kids, they don't have a whole lot of insight into the world. But there is, like I said earlier, a small group of college kids who go into college, see that things are wrong, and get that, okay, this has to change, and they grow up quick. And our kids had to grow up quick anyway, because of where many of us come from, because we've been dealing with these experiences for most of our lives. But I think one aspect of the protest at Howard that I would love to see is I would love to see some of these kids' parents out there. Some of the kids who are out there protesting now, I would love to see some of their parents out there, if they can get out there. And be in solidarity and support their kids and be protesting with their kids. Because I think that if some of us adults would be more vocal about the kind of disrespect and being taken for granted and dismissal that we know we experience from authority, like the Democratic Party, if we would stop just going along and getting along, then I think more of our kids would be like, well, my mama and daddy ain't take that shit. I ain't taking this shit either. And maybe there would be more of our kids protesting at Howard University, at Clark Atlanta, and all across the country. And maybe more students would be speaking out against Google and Lockheed Martin and Raytheon and ROTC on college campuses. Maybe if some of us adults stood up a lot more, I'm not going to say a little bit more, because I think we're at the point in the history of struggle that we can't do anything a little bit anymore. We got to stand up a lot. Maybe if some of us adults stood up a lot more to the authority that we know is screwing us over, doesn't care, giving us the finger, sitting at the table, talking about we glad to have a seat at the table, and all we gonna give the people that we're supposed to be representing is a progress report, and we're gonna tamp down their frustration with that. Maybe if more of us adults stood up in these folks' faces and tell these folks, take your progress report and your ski-wee and your ooh and your divine nine and your seat at the table and shove it, because I don't need you at the table because you're not speaking for me. We'll build our own table, we'll get our own shit, and we'll burn the house down that the table you're sitting in is at. Maybe if more of us adults did that, maybe more of our kids would be less afraid, because I think that's really what some of it is. It's fear. Because the administration at Howard University is threatening these kids with expulsion if they speak out, if they join this protest. Threatening them, the ones who have student housing, with kicking them out of their dorms. They've already sicked the cops on them. Maybe if some of us adults would stand up to the Black Misleadership class that in our generation that came from some of these HBCUs and got their check and is sitting at the seat at the table in the Biden administration talking about giving us a progress report. Maybe if some of us would tell those people to go to hell and storm a few gates ourselves, maybe some of our kids wouldn't be living in dorms where they're being impacted by mold and rats and roaches, paying $50,000 a year for tuition, while the president of the university, of Howard University, makes $1 million a year. And some of these kids are living in their cars going to Howard University. Maybe if we stood up a lot more, maybe our kids would have a fighting chance in changing some of this shit that they're facing right now. Maybe if we stood up a lot more with them, maybe this shit can change. And then HBCUs will fulfill more of the promise that they were designed to fulfill. And maybe some more folks who are attending HBCUs and coming out of HBCUs will get rid of their fucked up class analysis and their respectability politics and make greater connections with folks in the actual community, the Black masses, the working class and the poor who don't go, who are not students at the universities, who work at the universities, who work in the cafeteria, who work at cleaning the university, the landscapers, the sanitation workers, the folks in administration. So my criticism is not of HBCUs in particular. My criticism is the misleadership class that HBCUs has produced, that we have allowed to get away with doing nothing for us, and then we're surprised when the same misleadership class turns around and mistreats our kids on the very college campuses they came from. So that was on my mind for tonight. Hopefully, as I said, later on, either this weekend or early next week, myself and some Black Alliance for Peace Mid-Atlantic comrades will be going to the campus of Howard University, and I think we will be we're working on organizing a teach-in. I know that we are going to continue to provide them assistance that they need, but I hope that I'm going to be able to provide you some coverage of something from there, what's going on there. We'll see. I don't know what day yet, but stay tuned. But yeah, HBCUs, I know, Brewski. HBCUs is that, it's like that piece of laundry, that we don't like to talk about in public, that we ain't crazy about. We know that the shit that goes on at HBCUs between the administration and the students is raggedy, and we've been complaining about it for years. But the students, this generation of students, they're like, fuck all this talking about this stuff behind closed doors and being polite about it. And, oh, I didn't send you to college to protest. You sent me to college to get an education. And I've been educated. Some of these kids are saying, I've been educated on how this system really works. So I think we need to support these students. I know we need to support these students, and we need to do a much better job of being an example for these students than we have been. So yes, y'all, Brewski is he's been a good boy. He's been very obedient and very patient. I'm trying to get my mouse to work so I can look at some of your comments. Yes, he's a good boy, torches and pitchforks. He's saying hello. It's true. You're absolutely right. Joshua, a lot of students, a lot of the youth are parroting their parents' rhetoric. This is why I'm saying I'm not putting all of it on the kids, on the students. It's the parents. Some of whom came out of HBCUs themselves, and they became bougified by their college degree and their salary that was bigger than more money than their parents made. They moved out of the hood. They stopped. They didn't want to be around the poors. Yeah, that's absolutely true. But that's the whole point. If more of us challenged that kind of bullshit, then there would be more students. There'd be more students out there protesting at Howard University and all over the place. Let's see. Let me go back up and see if I can look at some of your other comments. Oh, this is a great point. Yes, Brewski, I know. The 80s and up kids had to really fend for themselves. Christian said that the 80s and up kids really had to fend for themselves. That's why we're not for the go along to get along. Look, y'all kids that were born in the 80s, you realize that those of us who were born in like the 60s and the 70s, life was different for us. Yeah, there were definitely issues that we dealt with, but I worked at Tower Records and I earned minimum wage, and I was able to afford a 1-bedroom apartment on my Tower Records paycheck. And I mean, okay, yeah, I ate a whole lot of tuna fish and bologna and oodles and noodles and 4 for $1 pot pies. But I was able to feed and clothe myself and put a roof over my head and still have a little bit of money left over on the weekends to go out and party and get drunk. That was in the late 80s. I graduated high school in 1985. That was in the late 80s, early 90s. You all don't have that experience. My rent back then was like $470 a month, utilities included, for a 1-bedroom apartment with a bay window in the living room and parquet floors. You can't find anywhere to live, not even a room in a house, for $470 a month. Probably nowhere in this country. That's right, Obiama, on minimum wage. That's right. On minimum wage in like 1990. So it wasn't even $7 then. It was like $5 and some change. Yep. That's the truth. So y'all kids, and when I was going to college, I was going to UDC, and my tuition was $50 per credit hour. Y'all don't have that experience. Y'all don't have that experience at all. So I think that was a great point that Christiane made. These kids, they're not going for the okie doke. They're like, nah, we're paying $50,000 a year for tuition. This ain't gonna work. I think that's an excellent point. Thank you for that. Christiane, again, the cost of living rose and the hand around our necks got tighter. That's absolutely true. And this is why a college degree today doesn't guarantee much of anything. Because the cost of living rose, but the incomes didn't rise, especially not for us. Not to keep up with the cost of living, no. And the price of housing, healthcare, all that rose, and incomes didn't rise to keep up with any of that. If it did, the proposal for raising the minimum wage wouldn't be $15 an hour. It would actually be like $27 an hour. So I think that's a great point. I think that's a wonderful, wonderful point. So anyway, y'all, I appreciate you so much for hanging out with me tonight on Black Power Media here in Lukman Nation Live. Again, yes, got back from Colombia, had a great trip. I'm going to try to piece together some whatever, I don't know what, from the pictures I have left and some of the video I have, and I'm going to talk about some of my observations that I made while in the country. That's going to be coming up in the next few weeks. And hey, thanks a lot for watching, listening. If you have not pressed the like button, press the like button. Like, share. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe, join Black Power Media, support Black Power Media on patreon.com/Black Power Media. And you can even support Lukman Nation on on Patreon, on patreon.com/Lukman Nation, LUKMANNATION. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for more great stuff on Black Power Media. As always, take very, very good care of yourselves and take good care of each other. As always, peace, y'all.
I had them online before I dial up. How they claiming they on top and I'm a mile up. I had them online before I dial up. How they claiming they on top and I'm a mile up. I know the wall's closing in, but don't you dare give up now. Poe believed in me, pull up through some bucks down. Todd told the valet pull the truck round. Push the line after we drew it, it's just us now. Would you believe me if I told you my granny told me she prayed this? Then booked the surgery just to pull me out of the basement. Right back where I started, nothing to show for a facelift. Got pushed playing Walter White and Davis, never felt so dangerous. The type of power they can't quantify. And name the best from my region, you gotta utter mine. Think of who really putting on, you never come to mind. Rapping like your Spotify, tap you rappers compromise. Yeah, no need to panic, just paint the canvas. If you can feel the static, you're too close, find your balance. Embed the revolution for their prohibition bandwidth. Blood trickle from the leaders he was planning. I had them all blind before I dialed up.